Okay, so I entered in my basic information, and basically it asked me if I wanted to restore my Gmail or like my Google information to this product, and I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I went ahead and I did that, and then boom, we are inside the device here. So I don't know a lot about using Android, so I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to hack my way through this. I do know that Android essentially has some different sort of like home screens, and so you can rearrange, widgets and things like that. Obviously, it has a built-in browser. It has a built-in email client. Android is supposed to be excellent if you're a heavy Gmail user. It has a really good Gmail interface. Let's talk a little bit about the hardware itself here. So one thing to notice is that there's actually no hardware buttons anywhere on the front. So Honeycomb, in this particular implementation at least, and I think it's probably pretty standard for all Honeycomb tablets, you actually use this to navigate down here. You see these little icons here? These little icons allow you to multitask, they allow you to go home, and then they also allow you to go back. So that's it for, that's really all I'm going to say about Android right now. Let's talk a little bit more just about the hardware. So on the side here, you can see that there's volume buttons. So as you can see here, when oh, that's actually kind of cool. It just flipped over to tablet mode. So you can see volume all the way down, volume all the way up. And is that an EQ? Okay, no, that's actually alert. So that's actually pretty cool. So what you can do is you can set different volume levels for the alerts. Now, down on the bottom here, I believe, and I probably should have double checked the spec sheet before I actually did this. I believe this is a mini HDMI out, or maybe it's called microHDMI. Not too sure. Sorry about that, guys. I will verify that. We also have a microUSB, and then we have the USB charging port here. Or sorry, the AC power charging port. Right. Nothing on the side here. On the top, I believe this is the. Okay, so it's looking like this is actually where you would put a SIM card if you had it, and then this is also where you would put the microSD card. So the microSD card comes up here. Now, here is what I think is a pretty major knock against Motorola, is that this particular product doesn't actually have. Yeah, I'll just block the whole camera with my hand. There you go. Great cinematography. The microSD card does not actually work right out of the box. So you actually have to, at one point, apparently, if I keep this, I'm going to have to ship it back to Motorola and get them to enable this by doing something. That is totally insane, and it makes me think that this tablet just really wasn't ready for market when Motorola decided to ship it. So yeah, I'm pretty iffy on that. I mean, if you have a product and you enjoy using it, having to ship it back to have them enable a feature, that just seems totally inane to me. All right, so let's put down this glossy slab of metal here, and let me just real quickly walk through some of the features. So I mentioned that there was a 5 megapixel camera on back. There's the webcam up here at the top is 2 megapixels. It does have digital zoom, but don't use that. That sucks. It has dual LED flashes. So if I flip it over here, we should be able to see, yeah, so there's actually these 2 LEDs right up here. Focus is automatic. It says it has video editing software, something called Movie Studio. We'll see. As I mentioned, this is the Wi-Fi only version, so it does not have CDMA built in. Of course, the slot is there, but I would assume that the radio is in fact missing from the motherboard inside. So even though there's a slot for a SIM card, this version I seriously doubt would actually have the chips inside it. It's capable of a 720p video playback. It has 720p video capture, so you can use that camera to capture 720p video. It supports AAC audio, H.263, H.264, MP3, MPEG-4. It has OGG support, which is actually kind of interesting too. Let's talk about battery life for a second. It comes with a 24 watt-hour battery, which is, frankly, it's one of the reasons why it's a little bit of heft. Lithium-ion batteries aren't super heavy, but they do add to the weight. One of the big things, obviously, that adds to the weight is this big big hunk of glass here. Now, the 24 watt-hour battery, according to Motorola, says it's good for approximately 10 hours of browsing over Wi-Fi. I'm going to be using the really refreshing tool to actually test that. So we will see, we'll see what kind of battery life it gets. Now, it does have a built-in GPS and something called an e-compass, so that'll be an electronic compass. And of course, it has Google Maps, Google Latitude, and Street View. It has a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which I'm going to be really honest. I mean, am I missing something? Where does the... Okay, so that is probably the headphone jack there. It's kind of interesting because there's no little icon for a headphone or any indication, and it's weird because it looks a little bit like the power connector. But that, of course, is going to be the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack right up there. It comes with Google Talk, Google eBooks, you know, basic Google stuff. It does have Bluetooth built in. It's Bluetooth 2.1 with enhanced data rates. It uses the Android HTML WebKit browser, which has Chrome bookmark sync and tabbed browsing, so that's actually really cool. The built-in Wi-Fi is 802.11a, b, g, and n, so it basically supports the entire spectrum of Wi-Fi, which again is awesome to see. It is microUSB, and the spec sheet in front of me says HDMI out, but of course the connector is not a regular HDMI out, so it's going to be some sort of a mini HDMI connector. Now, the interface, it says that it has a light responsive display, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to guess that this little thing right here that's really hard to see, that is probably going to be the light sensor. So when you turn it on, if you're in a really bright environment, it will hopefully, you know, crank up the light to give you sort of maximum brightness. Now, it has a virtual on-screen keyboard, which you already saw. You can download wallpapers and do customizations. It says that it has a built-in calculator, calendar, and then, of course, there's apps. Now, let's talk about the screen for a second. So it is it's a 10.1 inch display. Okay, obviously super high gloss. You can see like my lights when I get the angle wrong. So really glossy screen. I'm not sure if this is the maximum brightness. I'm going to have to look into that. But it does, you know, it looks honestly pretty decently bright. The really nice thing about this display is the resolution. It's 1280 by 800 pixels, and that's 150 pixels per inch. Now, the reason why that's nice is that 1280 by 800 is pretty close to, you know, 1280 by 720, which would be a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. And what that means, of course, is if you're watching videos, especially, you know, high def videos that are 720p, you're going to get black bars on the top and the bottom, but they're not going to be nearly as big as they were on the iPad. One of my really big complaints when I played with the iPad 2 and I played back a sample video, I was totally blown away at how massive the black bars on the top and the bottom were. The iPad 2 just does not have, or the iPad 1, does not have a good screen aspect ratio for watching videos. And since watching videos, I think, is a really cool application for this product, that's one of the reasons why I decided to give this one a try. Now, I will be totally forthright. Like I mentioned, if I don't love this product, it's going to be going back to Best Buy for a refund. That's what return policies are for. You know, if you don't like a product, you return it. And if I don't like this one, I will go out and buy an iPad 2. That's basically the second device on my list. But I did want to see what this whole Android thing had to offer. Now, it has 32 gigs of memory, which is really cool. Like I said, it was $5.99 for 32 gigs, and this is where it starts. There is no 16 gig model, at least being sold by Best Buy in Canada. So I appreciate the extra RAM. It has a 1 gigahertz dual core processor. It has an accelerometer. So obviously when I move it over here, you can see it switches pretty quickly. It's not, you know, it's not exactly as fast as the iPad 2, but, you know, it's decent. And then of course it has a proximity sensor, ambient light sensor. It says it has a barometer. That's kind of cool. So you can like maybe use it to like check the weather and stuff. And then of course it also has a gyroscope. So that is about it for the specs for this particular product. So like I said, I'm not going to embarrass myself by doing a walkthrough of Android before I actually know how to use this particular product. But that has been my first impressions of the Motorola Xoom. So I like what I'm seeing here. I like the bright screen. It certainly has some heft. The thickness doesn't bother me. You know, I think that's actually okay for thickness. The iPad 2, frankly, is so thin that when you hold it, you almost feel like you're going to drop it. So I don't mind the thickness, but the weight, you know, the weight is something I'm going to have to see if I like it, because when these devices get too heavy, they just become a bit of a pain. You know, you don't use it in the ways that you would want to use it because it's so heavy. So this has been Jason Dunn from Laptop Thoughts. Please subscribe to our channel. I hope you really liked the video. Give it a thumbs up if you do. Post a comment. I'll be happy to answer any questions at all while I have this product. So hopefully you'll be asking your questions within the first kind of couple weeks, because again, I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to change it. Check out the ads that run in this video or next to it. That's how you support these videos and allow me to do more of them. I really appreciate your support, guys. Thank you so much for watching.